shitty, so like you get the good job and you're like, oh, there is cool jobs out there. But my shitty job, I worked at a cannabis store, and I sold cannabis to the public and the medical patients alike. And typically it was a really boring job because you get like the creeps coming in, just like walking around to stay warm, and then getting mad because your prices are too high and leaving, saying they're going to go down the street. But one day I was sitting there behind the counter, and I had just put out some freaking Annihilator stuff. Like, this stuff was like 40%, like the highest percentage flower I've ever seen. And here comes the RVTD old bus, just like pulling into the parking lot, and like 4 old ladies got out, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be cool. I was like, we get to make some tips today. I'm gonna be flirting my ass off. So the first 3 were really simple. They were just like, I need like an 1/8 of something that's not gonna kill me. It needs to be an upper. I don't like downers. And I'm like, okay, here you go, you sweet old lady. She's like, thanks. She dropped like a 5 in the jar. And the next lady's like, I want to try dabs, but I'm afraid that they're too strong. Like, should I try dabs? And I was like, I could probably get you something that might be okay. And I got her settled. And then the 3rd lady walks up, and she's about this tall and like that big around. And I'm like, okay, she's probably gonna get something like super weak. So I grabbed the bottom shelf jar, and she goes, no, honey. And I'm like, excuse me? She goes, what's that? And I was like, I look at it. The name on it might as well have been a skull and crossbones. This shit was a killer. So I'm like, no, that's pretty strong. I mean, you should probably start. And she's like, no, I want that one. And I was like, okay, how much? She goes, I want 1 ounce. And I was like, okay. It's like $400 ounce. This lady's just freaking... Thank you. So I'm weighing it out, and I can't help but like, I'm weighing it out, and I'm thinking in my head like, you know, what kind of a dumbass am I? This old lady, she is like probably in her 90s. Her body's probably 20% Oxycontin at this point. So I'm like, whatever, and I finally get done weighing. And just as I'm thinking this, she pulls out a JFK Pez dispenser and pops an Oxycontin in her hand and eats it. And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, you can't smoke in here, but you can do hard drugs. So I was like, that's the most gangster shit I've ever seen. I'm like, did you just pop an Oxycontin? And she goes, no, it was a Codone. And I'm like, it's not different. She goes, they're a little bit weaker. And I was like, holy shit. And as soon as she left, she walks out, and as the doors swing closed, she's like, I got the good shit. And the door slammed. I didn't hear her anymore. And all of her friends looked super happy. I'm like, why didn't they just all buy it if they were all going to smoke it? Apparently they're weaklings. So this other joke is a true story that happened to a friend of mine. Me and Chase, you might have known him, he came here a lot. He moved to Wisconsin. We decided that it was going to be Jesse's first time to eat mushrooms. Totally unwilling to him. So we got an 1/8. We're like, an 1/8 will probably be enough for 3 people. We could probably just divvy that up good enough, and then, we'll be kind of up there, but he'll be like way up there. So we eat him at like 5. We eat him at like 5. We're like, bam, 1/3 of an 1/8. And out of nowhere, I'm like, it's like 2 hours later, I'm like looking around, I'm like, dude, I don't feel these at all. Like, did we just buy like some dried shiitakes? Like, what's going on? And my parents went upstairs and went to bed, and we're like, dude, let's go downstairs while we're still all right. And every step, I'm like looking at the walls, and it's like a horror movie. Like, you hear the creaks, it's just like, ee. And I'm like, oh, okay. Every step, I'm getting way higher and higher and higher. And I look back at my friend Jesse, and he is like on the rail, just like slow rolling. So we finally get down, and we're like, okay, let's watch some TV, dude. Let's occupy our brains a little bit with something on the TV. So we chose Rick and Morty, which at the time sounded great, but when you're on mushrooms, that is not the show to watch. Like, as far as like your friend's first time doing mushrooms, probably wasn't a good idea. But we made a lot of responsible decisions. Like, we proceeded to smoke like 2 ounces of weed the whole time we were like mushroomed out. So, but it was just Jesse. So what was happening was I loaded a bowl and I passed it to Jesse, and he'd clear it because he's on mushrooms. He'd hit the whole bowl, and he'd pass it to my friend Chase, and Chase would go, bro, this is empty, and he'd hand it to me, and I'd load it, and I'd sit there with it in my lap for a second. And then I'd pass it back to Jesse full, untouched. And he'd clear it. And we did that for like 40 times in a row. I ran out of weed, and I'm like, fuck, we're done. And then, so we're sitting there, and we're like having a conversation. It's more like a whisper conversation, because we all think we're hella loud for some reason. And out of nowhere, Chase goes, bro, the TV's too fucking loud. I'm like, sorry, dude, sorry. And I turned it on like 10. And then like 10 minutes later, we were having another conversation. He's like, bro, it's loud again, shit. And I turned it down to like 6. By the time we were done, we were watching TV at like 2, and it is like blaring in our ears, and we're like, we're gonna wake up everybody in the fucking house, bro. Like, this shit is through the roof loud. Like, my bows are off, I swear. And so, you know, it winds down. It's like 3 in the morning, you know. If you've done mushrooms before, like, the first time you do them, you're up for like 12 hours, you know, you're like super awake. But it's like my 3rd or 4th time, so I was like kind of tired at like 4 or 5-ish in the morning. But Jesse's like, first time, like, he's like still wide awake. And I'm like, yo, bro, I'm getting tired. I think I'm gonna go upstairs, go to bed. And he's like, bro, you can't. And I was like, well, yes, I can. The stairs are right there. There's nothing in my way. Like, I could totally walk upstairs right now and go to bed. And he's like, bro, I have to tell myself when to breathe. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like just breathe, bro. And he's like, no, dude, there's an elephant sitting on my chest, bro. I can't breathe. He's like, you can't leave. You can't leave me down here, dog. I'm having a bad time. And I like walked up like 3 steps and I stopped and I was like, fuck. I was like, should I leave him down here by himself? He's probably gonna have a terrible trip for the rest of the night. He'll probably go to bed at like 6, get woke up at 7. Then I finally looked at him and I was like, all right, dude, see you, I'm going to bed. And I fucking walked up the stairs. And I left him there. I totally just ditched him. I was like, fuck it. Like, that's his problem from now on. I was on mushrooms. I'm not making fucking good decisions. I'm like obviously inebriated. I'm out of pot. I was kind of bummed. But no, the next morning, I look at him and I can tell he's still kind of feeling it. He's like really like looking around all weird and shit. Like he doesn't know if he's still high or not. And I'm like, how you doing, bro? And he's like, does that episode of Rick and Morty have more than one screen? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, how many? And I was like, well, like 2 at first and then 4. And he's like, don't even go any farther. He's like, dude, I thought I had like eyes of a fly watching this episode of Rick and Morty. There was like 39 screens. And I was like, no, that was just the show. And he's like, it doesn't feel like it though. He's like, I still convinced myself that I saw more screens than were there. And he still can't watch that episode. Like, he's got PTSD. Like, it turns on and he starts getting like a cold sweat. And he's like, oh. I left him in like an uncomfy ass chair too. Like, it barely reclines. It's like hard as a rock. Oh yeah. I took the good chair. I didn't let him sit in it after I left though. I was like, that's a good chair. So, but yeah, that's probably going to end it tonight. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Thanks for the laughs.